What is going on, YouTube? PPS back. It is Past the Prop Monday show for you guys. We'll be recapping our NFL Week 13 plays along with our NBA best bets today. Only 8 games. We've been spoiled on our last couple Mondays. We're getting 12s, 14s. Now we're down to a normal 8-game slate. Some pretty good games on the docket. Some pretty big spreads now. A lot of injuries to talk about there. But as always, join my guy Stu. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a solid week, solid football so far. And like you said, I was kind of expecting, whenever you wake up on Monday, you expect, oh, am I going to get a 14-game slate today? No 14-game slate, but we got some pretty good games. I think every game's shaping up to be fairly competitive, except maybe that Bucks Magic game we got right in the middle. But yeah, pretty good slate today. And we got a grudge match in the NFL too, which we can't really complain about that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to watch that game. I don't know how much bets I will have in that game, just because you know how some of these ones are on prime time, and I just don't know what I'm going to bet on when I have to trust Andy Dalton on one side, and then you bet Mike Evans he's tossed in the second quarter. You bet on something always crazy happens. I feel like in these games, the Saints actually do play pretty well against Tampa Bay overall, but. Before we get into that one, guys, we will do a quick recap of our Week 13. Before we get into our bets, what was the biggest standout to you? We had some pretty cool games on both sides of the AFC, NFC here. Obviously, we had the Chiefs, Bengals. That one was crazy. We saw the Chargers, again, not pull the game out there. What do you want to talk about? What is your spot here outside of Washington?
Yeah, how about Tua? I mean, we can just start there. I think that was the one on a lot of people's minds. Probably his worst game we've seen since that rookie season when they were switching up coaches. He had 2 different the Ryan Fitzpatrick playbook, all that stuff. So Tua had a terrible game, right? San Francisco looked very, very impressive. I mean, that was the big thing. It was kind of a statement game for San Francisco. A lot of people thinking maybe this high tempo offense was going to shut them down. And then we get the news directly after that Jimmy Garoppolo is now out for the season. So that's all the drama. That's what everyone's talking about right now. What do you think about that? Where do you think they go from here on? Is it the Brock Purdy show for the rest of the year?
Well, do you rely on him? Obviously, the Baker Mayfield news, what they just a perfect storm for everything that's about to happen here. So yeah, I think that they might go talk to him. I don't know if they'll sign him there. I'd be curious how this next game goes. I know this next week, I believe they play Tampa, which would be a very tough matchup for a young quarterback to go into there. Pretty sure it's at Tampa Bay. So that's a tough matchup for both sides there, but especially for a young quarterback with that defensive line. Should be interesting. I don't know if they roll with him, but that's a scary matchup for your first start, facing off against Tampa and Tom Brady in your first career start. So, yeah, I think they got to go get somebody. I know Lamar's injury. They talked about Huntley getting signed or brought up, right? Brett Huntley, I think they brought up. So from the practice squad. So a lot of quarterback carousels with fantasy playoffs looming here, which is obviously crazy to think about if you're getting close to fantasy playoffs.
So are you team Baker then? Because I'm thinking if you're San Francisco, you've got to sign Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, with Brock Purdy, he knows the playbook, so he will at least execute next week. We've got to assume he's the starter going into next week just because he's the only one that knows the playbook. But after that, I mean, Kevin Stefanski made Baker look like a solid quarterback. At times, he had his moments, and then since then, he's been with some pretty terrible coaches. I would say Shanahan and Stefanski are pretty similar, where I think they can both kind of build an offense that masks the quarterback's insecurities pretty well. So if I'm San Francisco, this is kind of a gift, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield may not be good at all. He's been real bad recently, but he's a first round pick, right? He's a clear talent difference than the guys that they have right now. Brock Purdy wasn't drafted until the very last pick for a reason. You don't want to start Easton Stick or this Johnson guy who's been on 14 NFL teams. You don't want to start those guys. There's clearly a talent gap right here. So for me, it feels like you kind of got to do that. I don't know what you think, but
I think you have to. I mean, this by far is the best squad he would be on by a lot. I mean, he's not going to be running for his life. You don't have to hand the ball off 70 times either. I don't think they're going to do that with McCaffrey, but I mean, we could see the dump offs, right? The same thing that we just saw with Purdy. Purdy's making those easy throws. We've seen Baker's deep ball It's not great, but it's better than Purdy's, right? Even in college, Purdy, he was good, but he wasn't like obviously Baker as the number 1 pick, right? So it's tough. Yeah. Did you watch Purdy a lot?
Actually, I did. I watched him a little bit. Sorry, I was reacting to some breaking news we just got. You want me to drop the MLB breaking news on you?
Sure.
Trey Turner, 11 years, $300 million with the Phillies. Ugh.
Wow.
It's disgusting.
Damn, bro. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a lot of money for. But dude, by 11th year, he ain't gonna be fast anymore. He's gonna be freaking old. I mean, I love Trey Turner. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the guy, but I think that infield's actually gonna be kind of filthy with Bohm on that side too. But that's a lot to pay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the show. I was just I was disgusted by another division rival of the Nationals acquiring a good piece. So
yeah, it's gonna be good. Obviously, Verlander signed too, so that'll be interesting there. But what was your thoughts on that Bengals game? What was your thoughts on that? Obviously, the Bengals pull out another game against the Chiefs, 3-0 against the Chiefs as long as Burrow has been there. That is crazy. Not a number I expected to ever see against Mahomes by anybody. Let alone another young quarterback. Kelsey stumbled a little bit there. Obviously, the fumble really caused that whole thing, but man, I don't know if I think that the Bengals are going to be Super Bowl team, but these are pretty big wins, obviously. So what is your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the Bengals are interesting. I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that continues to not really pop out in the advanced stats. They may be inefficient at times, but they've got some big game players. These guys keep showing up. Burrow showed he can, do it time after time in the clutch. And yeah, that fumble from Kelsey was pretty brutal right there. It was kind of the beginning of the end. I don't know how you felt about that. I mean, it was a fumble, sure, but it's one of those weird plays where the refs blow the whistle and they blow those plays dead so often that you never know kind of when a guy is fully stopped or not. And then when they yanked it out, it was pretty rough for the Chiefs. Mahomes barely got back on the field the rest of the game. So I still think the Chiefs are the best team in football. I still think they're the team to beat, but I think it shows if the Bengals are consistently beating the best team in football, then they're going to be a threat to no matter who they face. Especially we're kind of seeing the Bengals trending upward, and then the Ravens are kind of trending in the opposite direction. Even when Lamar was healthy, putting up an absolute dud against the Panthers, and then we get this performance, it's definitely showing who's the alpha in that division right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you're the Bengals, you're just hoping you get onto that side, right? You got to hope that you're getting on the side where the Chiefs are at, because I don't know how they'd handle the Bills, to be completely honest. I think the Bills would be a terrible matchup for them because you can actually run Josh Allen to the outside, where we kind of saw the Chiefs have a ton of success on the ground, right? When did we ever think that we were over? I think Pacheco was close to 100 yards rushing, right? Him and McKinnon combined were like 115, I thought.
Oh yeah, no, those guys were getting going. And I mean, yeah, Allen, he just kind of presents a little bit of a different threat too, especially with the way not only he can run to the outside, but also he can run people over, right? This guy's a goal line threat as well. And Singletary's actually been playing some of his best football ever this season as well. So I agree with you. I would rather run it back against the team that you continuously beat than kind of face the unknown in the Bills. So we really have no clue how those teams would kind of match up with each other.
Yeah, and then big shouts, obviously, to Keenan Allen, obviously not cashing our collab last week. But then he goes off again this week, 14 targets.
Yeah.
So obviously just a week behind, like always, on those. And I feel like that's always the case. Let's do a quick recap, and then we'll take a look at everybody in the chat, and we'll get going. 25 of you guys in here a little bit earlier today. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. And let's go through our NFL slate here. I'll run through mine first. Tua, this was so disappointing. I don't know really what I want to say about it. They had chances to do it on the back end, right? Only needed like 4 of them in that last drive. Then he gets strip sacked, returned for a touchdown, and then obviously the pick at the end again. He had the chances. I thought we actually were going to get it at the end. It just kind of had everything kind of going the way we wanted it to. They scored with enough time left, and we didn't get there, unfortunately, but the St. Brown show, baby. He's continuing. This is crazy. 30 targets over the last 3 weeks, over 75 in every single game. Dude caught 2 tutties. We'll talk about that in a second. But, man, the Sun God is on another level playing against the Vikings this week. You already know he's on my card again. I'm pumped up for that one. And What did you say?
I was gonna say it's funny. The lines started to drop. I'm seeing people worried about the Williams guy that they drafted in the first round. It's like this guy is recovering from an ACL tear, and he's a speed wide receiver. Did we think this guy was going to come in the first week and just take the Sun God's job? No, absolutely not. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, I doubled down with you, putting another unit on it as well. Love this play. Glad it cashed right here. Oh, he's going to keep it going. If these lines don't adjust, if they keep dropping 6.5 catches and, 70 whatever yards, it's going to be a mistake, man.
Yeah, I just hate it, dude. The books were smart this week, just making me sit on that minus 155 on the catches. Yeah. Like, as much as I wanted to lay that, like if you're in an offshore book or you don't have DraftKings or FanDuel, and then they might not have it right at 7, you'd have to obviously go up to 8 or 10 on their alt lines. It's tough, right? It's tough to kind of think that you're going to throw that money on there, and then you have to pay the minus 150. It's just tough for me to click that, and that's what really sucked. And they kept it there the whole time too. I wish they would just gave me the plus money on 7.5 on the books I was on. But yeah, dude, he is on one. And guess what? They kept throwing it, dude. They kept throwing it, and I needed that. I'm up 10 now in my fantasy matchup. 2 must-win games ahead into the playoffs here, so we'll see how that goes. Let's head over to your 2 here. What do you have, 3 or 4?
He was short. I think it was 3. I mean, the Vikings, they won that game. They looked fucking terrible. I mean, they looked absolutely terrible. I mean, the Jets also look kind of bad because they're the Jets, and Mike White is good at times but made some mistakes. But, man, when the Vikings had the ball, they got out to such an early lead where they didn't have to throw the ball, and then they just got complacent on that lead and barely had the ball in the second half. So it was just a kind of bad game script. But TJ Hawkinson, he's still out there. He's still running routes. The targets were there. It was a terrible game script spot, but probably going to be what you said. They got who next week? The Vikings against the Lions, right? So probably a spot to go right back to Hawkinson as well in a revenge game.
Yeah, and I think it's the pressure, right? It was all the pressure, and Cousins wasn't even really looking at Hawkinson. His underneath routes were to Jefferson, which you don't really see much. I think that kind of took away from Hawkinson, because those dump offs that they were giving Jefferson usually are Hawkinson, and he ended up with 7 catches for like 50 yards. So, that's kind of how it goes sometimes, where there was just a guy in Kirk Cousins' face, and as a Washington guy, you know how bad he is under pressure. That dude gets so scared, and that ball's out so fast. I think Thielen only had 2 catches. Hawkinson had 3. But Dalvin Cook looked fantastic. It might be a spot to go to next week. Obviously, Alexander Madison being a vulture kind of sucked, but, you know how it is. And then, oh, man, what a day.
Yeah, no, I mean, if people remember, I was pretty fired up for Tyreek Hill on the show last time. Definitely my favorite play of the week. And even with Tua having an absolutely disgusting performance, even with Trent Sherfield just robbing a possession by scoring an 80-yard touchdown.
I know, that pissed me off so much when I saw that, dude. I was so pissed.
Even with all that, we still did get the Tyreek Hill cash on that deep ball. I mean, Tyreek Hill, unguardable, man, just continues the absolutely phenomenal season. No matter what the matchup is, what kind of defense they're going against, he's insane. He's Tyreek Hill.
Dude, his routes are just so crazy. Those little 5-yard ones turn into 30. Those deep ones, he can beat guys that are 4 inches, 5 inches taller than him. Just, dude, he's so tough. He's so tough. And we get another one, our 3rd one of the season, our touchdown parlay. Amon-Ra St. Brown comes through in the first. I don't know if you watched that game. I was watching it, obviously, because I had a lot of money on St. Brown, but he caught a pass on the first drive that he got tackled at, like, the 1, and I'm like, how do you not get in? Like, he was going here, guy starches him, and he goes straight down. That could have been 3 touchdowns. He could have easily had 3 touchdowns. Obviously, the Lions are just feeding fucking Jamal Williams, dude. It is unreal. I know Terrence pointed out the numbers last week. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 6, 20. It's baffling how the Lions get so many balls down to the 1, and it's always Amon-Ra, dude. He always gets to the 1, so I thought we were going to get robbed. We had our touchdown parlay that we made with the 4 of us again. I believe we were the 2 that hit on the 4 that we made there. So if you took that one, you take this one, you would have cash on both of them, on all 3 of the players. I know you had A.J. Brown for that one, which was awesome. So the touchdowns came through.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great. I went to two big physical red zone wide receivers this week, and it worked. I mean, Higgins and A.J. Brown. It's what I always talk about when I talk about these things is you want a guy that can score in the red zone and also score from outside the red zone. It gives you so much more flexibility. Those are the kind of people. And yeah, man, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we talked about it a little bit last week on my fantasy team. Both of us have seen all those times he got stopped just short, like within the 5-yard line. It's so ridiculous. It's so tilting to see him finally get in there and have one of those great games. It was awesome. Glad we cashed this one. Especially, I know you had the panic. You know, he missed that first one. You're like, there it goes. Of course, another one. And then he kept it going. He kept it going.
Yeah, no, this is one thing before we get into the game tonight and drop your first play here and get to everybody in the chat. Positive regression, right? I mean, we talked about it with Tyreek Hill. He wasn't catching touchdowns at the beginning of the year. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 80 catches and only like 3 touchdowns, right? And he's getting red zone work. So make sure that when you look at these numbers, it's obviously coming with grain of salt. There's no way that they can keep him out of the end zone that many times throughout. And his routes are just so clean. I just love watching him and Keenan Allen come through on those quick routes, dude. 14 target game for Allen, dude. That might be a spot we finally get to go to here shortly. In this next matchup facing Miami next week, that's going to be one on my big screen. I'm excited for that one. But let's check out everybody in the chat, guys. We clear 8. We're almost there, back again to that 10-unit spot. Let's take a look in the chat, and we'll get started, and we'll actually head to your first play here, kind of talk about tonight's game. We got Terrence in here. Appreciate you. Number 1 on the comment list today. Steve, appreciate you. Johnny, hope all is going well. Yeah, Nate, I mean, he has been with some bad teams. Dude, it's just – I mean, I probably could look good with Ayuk and Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, dude. Just let me toss that 5 feet and let them go do the work, make my stats look good, you know?
Should we think about Shanahan Coach of the Year right now? If they do manage to squeak a couple more wins, they've got Washington on the schedule. That's a winnable game.
You're going to give it to them over Eagles? Coach Serrano?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you leave Brock Purdy or Johnson or Mayfield to a couple more wins, then it feels impossible to not give it to him. Besides that one game where they got blown up by the Chiefs, they've been really good this season. And they're obviously carrying a terrible quarterback, no offense to Brock Purdy, a below average quarterback to a couple more wins. That would be kind of crazy, right?
Dude, if I have to give one as a dark horse, I would have to almost do it to Daboll, bro. That guy has no receivers. Like he has apps. That's like worse than having no quarterback because like his number one receiver was Darius Slayton, bro. Darius Slayton wasn't even getting drafted in fantasy drafts, and that's their number one. Richie James, I think, is their number one receiver at the moment in terms of yards every single game. Bellinger, a rookie tight end, is getting 5 catches in these games. Like they have no pass catcher. I always lean a little bit more towards that team because they literally have so much less talent than that team. So if I'm going with someone under the radar, that would be who I go with. And sorry to bring up a tie there. I didn't want to bring up the tie there, but hey, we'll get to that. Let's take a look. Plus Money Bob backs in here. Awesome. I have a plus money spot for you. Don't worry, we got one today. Thoughts on the? We'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that when we get talk about the stuff there. Hawkinson Band. Appreciate you, Mark. Yeah, if you guys could smash that like button for us, we appreciate that. And yeah, I was always happy that the Packers would always tackle them at like the 5-yard line, and they'd still run a fade route in the corner anyway. It'd still catch it. So you know how it is. Calvin Johnson was an absolute machine. So I'm sure he'll be in the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later. All right, I'm done talking. I'm heading it over to you. I have no plays in this game as of yet. Got the Saints, got Tampa Bay. Give me a little bit of a game breakdown total if you're leaning one side, if you're leaning one, and we'll get to your play here. I will obviously get to that. I'll talk about my side a little bit there in a second here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the Bucs in the game. I don't know if people will love that in the public. I like the Bucs in the first matchup as well. And I guess the biggest thing for me is and I'll take this in the article that I wrote a little bit earlier was pressure. That's what gets to Brady, right? Historically, the way you slow down Tom Brady is getting pressure in his face. And the Saints historically have been really good at it. And that's why they keep beating him over the course of their careers, because they can get pressure in his face. The reason the Saints have been bad this year is because they haven't been able to get pressure on the quarterback. So it's kind of like their biggest strength has kind of been weakened a little bit this season But the biggest thing for me is now Wirfs is out, and that's the best offensive line the Bucs have. So we don't actually know how this Bucs offensive line is going to fare without him, right? He was kind of the glue, even from the moment he got drafted to, really holding that offensive line together. So I'm a little bit worried about how Brady holds up without that, but I am still going to give the edge to the team that's actively fighting for playoff position. They're actively trying to stay ahead of their division. The Saints, all they have is really a rivalry game. They're playing kind of emotional right here, but they don't really have much to actually play for in general. So I do like the Buccaneers a little bit more than the Saints here.
Yeah, I just think talent-wise, you kind of have to lean that side, right? And I think that what you're saying is for sure where I'd have to go to. There's just too many things to fight for here, right? I mean, you can kind of tell in some of these later games in the season that you're kind of betting on teams that want to win or need to win, right? That's kind of the same thing in NBA, kind of same thing in MLB. Some teams just aren't fighting for anything, and the Saints are pretty much out. Obviously, Dalton's like 0-12 in primetime games, so kind of have to lean Tampa Bay. I just think this could go very much like three different ways, right? It could be a shootout. We could just see the 7-13 games that we've seen in the past, right? I'm just curious. I'm curious how long they let Dalton keep riding, dude. I kind of just want to see Jameis get out here and chuck that ball around and give me some fantasy guys, right? With Dalton, you can definitely know it's going to be taking a hit. And I mean, even Kamara, even Olave, right? All those guys get a lot more targets, a lot more numbers because Jameis is just willing to throw the ball when Dalton's taking sacks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we should find the Saints. I just like we should find the Texans for having to watch Kyle Allen. I think we should find the Saints for still having to watch Andy Dalton because what are we doing here? It feels like this is like intentional tanking in front of everyone. We all know what Andy Dalton is. Jameis Winston could actually make your team better. It's not 100%. He could throw 2 interceptions as well. He's Jameis Winston. He's inconsistent. But the fact that he went out with injury, and we're just like, yeah, we'll ride out with Andy Dalton for the rest of the season, despite what he's done, right? Remember the last primetime game, he threw, 3 interceptions against the Cardinals? It's just been brutal. They scored 0 points against the 49ers last week. I get that's not a good matchup, right? It's a great defense. They were in the red zone multiple times. They're just terrible with Andy Dalton. So I agree with you. I'd much rather watch Jameis Winston. I think he gives them a better chance to win. But it's the NFL. They do things that we don't quite understand. So we're just going to have to roll with that and make bets based on that, which is what I tried to do today.
Yeah, we got a couple guys dropping some plays or thoughts that they're thinking on in this game here. Plus Money Bob mentioning the Saints have not covered a road spread all year, and I'm sure the thing that's weird though is like you could be covering with the Saints the whole time, and then Jameis comes in, throws a pick six, and immediately you're not covering no more. That's why Jameis Winston is so fun. He is so much fun to watch. He actually would give some energy to this team, in my opinion. I think that this game, I think we might see him, dude. Yeah, I think we might see him at the end of this game because I think Tampa's going to pressure the hell out of him. And speaking of pressure, the Saints have gotten to Brady quite a bit in these games, more than most teams really have. Is there a thought here? We have Sam dropping Brady interception as a possible play. Do you have any thoughts here? Let me take a look at the odds here first. What's your thoughts on this? Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good look. I mean, I bet the odds aren't as great as we'd hope, but it's one of those situations where generally when quarterbacks are under pressure more, when they have to, make those split-second decisions, it leads to more interceptions, especially if Lattimore is out there too. We know his history. We know he wants some revenge. They obviously keep chirping. They've gotten those little shoving matches. So if he's out there, that definitely strengthens the chances as well. But I believe he's still questionable.
Yeah, plus 105 only on this spot. Not terrible, but he's going to throw a lot of passes, so definitely could be there. Z-Man, our last thing we're going to talk about in this game before we head to NBA or head to your first play and then to NBA. DK has a boost here for Evans and Godwin. If you had to pick one, who are you picking?
I'm going Evans. I know people won't like that either, but Godwin, the thing is the Saints are actually really, really good against slot receivers this season. They're very, very good. I don't want to mess with that. I know everybody knows this history with Evans, but he still is their best red zone weapon. He'll still be the guy they go to on a deep shot. Like I talked about earlier, you want someone to score outside of the 20. I don't think Godwin's going to score outside the 20. I wish I could bet some amount of money. It'd probably be like minus 600, but I'd still do it. He's not really running those routes. He's not getting down the field. He is a great red zone weapon, but I'd go Evans right here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. We want him to score from 20 out or in the red zone. Evans gives you that opportunity. Obviously, that Lattimore news is important. If he doesn't play, I mean, that's pretty easy just to lock into some stuff. Mike Evans to score there. And now that we've gotten through kind of our breakdown here, I'll kick it over to you for your first play. I got 2 NBA. You got 1 NFL, 1 NBA. So take it away with our first and only NFL spot.
Sounds good. Alvin Kamara over 3.5 receptions, minus 127 over on the Canby book. So I will got this one at Barstool, but anyone that Canby is the odds provider for should be right there. Rest of market's a little higher, 140 or something like that. But I do like this price the most right here. And I mean, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier with Andy Dalton and the checkdowns. We know what Andy Dalton is, right? We know the kind of guy he is. We were saying Jameis Winston, he can give us a certain part of this offense that he may open it up a little bit more. But right now, this isn't a very open offense at all. It's one that's going to try to run the ball. It's going to try to, let their defense do most of the talking. It's not a team that's going to put up a lot of points. They're going to take an occasional deep shot with Chris Olave and that other guy that's running around Jennings, something like that. I don't know. They've got a rotating door of these second tier. Traquan Smith has been here for like 10 years. So many guys, in and out. So I don't really trust most of those weapons. I do trust Olave to a certain extent, but I don't really want to put real money on him just because this is a good pass defense they're going in. A lot of these last couple of years, we've remembered Tampa Bay as being the best rush defense in football. They're still a good rush defense, but they're more middle of the pack right now. They're not that same unit, at least producing on paper so far this year. So I think that's good for two reasons. I think Kamara will be out there in the run game a little bit more, which is something he's struggled with recently. But I also do think that opens up those fakes, those run pass options, those play action plays where Kamara can get more involved out there. Plus money Bob says Jennings is out. Troutman is the next man up. Yeah, he hasn't done too much in the tight end position so far. He'll mostly be blocking. I assume Taysom Hill will also be a little bit more involved as well. But the point is, we talk about target competition on the show all the time. I know Saquon Barkley was the biggest guy we mentioned. You mentioned a little bit earlier. There's absolutely no weapons on that team. I feel a very similar way. The biggest weapon on this team is Kamara. Second is Olave. And I think Olave has a tougher matchup. We've seen some guys out of the backfield, especially, I don't know if you saw, Kenneth Walker had like a 6 for 65 receiving game when he couldn't get anything going on the ground just a couple weeks ago. And I see a very similar game script right here where Kamara, they start out run heavy. I think he probably gets, 14, 15 carries in this game. But if they can't get anything going, I think they turn to the check down. So he's hit this in 6 of 8 of his last 8 games. And in the 2 misses, he had 3 catches in both of those games as well. So he's been very involved. I expect him to stay involved. I just think this is a very fitting play for this game script. Last game, Mark Ingram was in. Kamara was out. He had to watch from the sidelines. I think he's going to be very involved in their revenge game this week.
Yeah, I always love Kamara checkdowns. And, hey, if my prediction comes through, Jameis Winston comes into this game, he might have 12 catches. Jameis Winston loves those checkdowns, loves those bombs. Definitely could see this cashing pretty easily there. But sorry guys, we're gonna take like the biggest left turn ever and go straight into this 8 game NBA slate. 30 of you guys in here. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Heading over to NBA now. I know we got 20 minutes in already of our NFL stuff. Right at that halfway point. We got some games. We got some pretty good games here on the docket. Not huge totals, right? Not any of these huge totals. A ton of injuries. We just saw John Morant listed as doubtful now. Yeah. Jaren Jackson doubtful. That whole team is going to look weird now. Obviously, the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard news. I mean, there's injuries all over the place. Is there one game you're looking at that we could possibly that you're going to be watching at least, or at least wanting to watch?
I think the late games are great here. Suns, Mavericks, obviously the finals rematch is going to be awesome to watch. I haven't actually had any bets there yet. I'm still kind of thinking what I want to do right now. But also Pacers, Warriors should be fun too. I mean, I don't know. The total last night was like 238. Might have gone down a little bit since then, but I absolutely love those high totals. No Halliburton, though, I believe, right? So that does mean it's going to be interesting. Who's going to step up, especially Pacers on a back-to-back as well, I believe. But I do think those late games will actually be 2 pretty fun ways to end the night.
Yeah, and I like, for the same reason, I really like Dallas versus the Suns. I'm also, as an Eastern Conference guy with the Bucks and stuff, I'm excited to kind of watch Toronto, Boston for like the actual fact of good basketball, right? We love the shitty basketball. We love that. That's huge for overs. But we're going to be watching some good basketball tonight with Toronto finally fully healthy. Boston really only missing Robert Williams. We're finally getting both Jaylen Brown and Tatum out there rolling. They got Derek White, the new addition to Brogdon as well. It's going to be a fun game. I think that one, these are two very deep teams, like in terms of like guys who can score the basketball. Nick Nurse is not a deep coach. Like, he ain't going further than 7 dudes into his bench. Don't think that that's what I meant. But like deep in terms of guys who can score. Like all 5 of those guys can score. And I'm a big Chris Boucher guy because one of my biggest DFS wins was with Chris Boucher dropping like 8 blocks in a game. So I'm a Boucher guy for sure. And now that we kind of picked those out, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. And I will kick it off. And that's the game I'm going to be going to right away. And I'm going to Pascal Siakam over 13.5 rebounds and assists. I absolutely love this line, guys. I love what Siakam has done this year. I looked at his last couple games against Boston, and the dude has grabbed 7 rebounds, and 13 rebounds. And in those games, he's only averaging 3 assists. And this is all last year, right? This is all last year's numbers. If you had to guess, how big of a jump in assist percentage do you think Siakam took this year?
We'll say 8%.
He went from 21 to 34.7% assist percentage. Dude has jumped 13%. He is the primary ball handler in that point forward type of almost like Giannis role when Drew is not playing, right? He does exactly that. He's got a fantastic assist rate. Like we just mentioned there, he's got 12.3 potential assists. He's got 13 potential rebounds. Like I just said, when these teams are good, right, at covering in the paint, the rebounds are going to be there, right? When the defense is actually being played, rebounds are going to be there, right? I know somebody mentioned Horford's out. I believe he sits out every single back-to-back, if I remember correctly. So if he's out too, that's even going to make it better because you still don't have to deal with Robert Williams in the paint. Siakam has been absolutely lights out. His ability to pass the ball out on those 3-point shots too. You still got Trent. You still got Van Vliet. Van Vliet's shooting pretty well from the 3-point line as not being a primary point guard anymore. But Siakam has been great. We've seen him, and I've said this a lot, where we want the ability to beat in both categories, right? Beat their numbers in both categories. Last game, he had 10 assists. A few games back, he had 11 rebounds. He had a triple-double 4 games ago, right? The ability to crush either side is there. And even the game that I had his rebounds assists on the game where he almost fouled out and he only played 32 minutes against the Nets. And he still got 11, right? So he didn't even play in the first half. They were down like 20, and he still almost got there, even with extreme foul trouble. I don't know if you really have to worry about fouls too much. You don't really have to worry about Horford in the paint. You don't have to worry about Robert Williams in the paint. I'm telling you right now, Grant Williams is not going to be posting up Pascal Siakam. That man's going to be sitting in the third over in the 3 corner like PJ Tucker over there ready to pop. So I love Pascal Siakam to grab some boards. I think he's still going to be the primary ball handler in this game. I think he takes over this game. I absolutely love Siakam over 13.5. What's your thoughts here on the new and improved point forward for the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah, no, I love Siakam here, man. He's been so good this season. Oh, my God. I mean, he's taken a leap that I think a lot of people haven't recognized as much. Obviously, went out for a couple days with injury, but then came right back. And like you said, too, I think this actually shows so much because I had his PRA, and I know a lot of people did as well in that one Nets game where they were getting blown out. There's no reason, no other team, no other coach in basketball lets their player in that situation play more than like 23 minutes. He had those 4 fouls. There's no reason he should have closed out that game in the 4th quarter, given that situation. And not only was he in there, the whole starting lineup was in there. Like, Nurse is crazy. He's going to play these guys every single possible second they can if it means a win. This is going to be a great basketball game. And I've talked about this the last couple of times. You mentioned the Celtics. The Celtics offense is so good that it's forcing you to have to make these plays on the other side too, right? They have a good defense, but the reason these games are so high scoring is because their offense has been so good. It's forcing other teams to respond. Siakam is going to be a huge part of it. And like you said, I like that he's one of those guys. Consistently, he can do it on the boards and through the assists. So giving that flexibility is definitely a huge deal.
Love it. I'm happy that we're both kind of seeing eye to eye on Mr. Siakam. And yeah, he's a guy that nobody watches that much, right? I mean, he's out in Toronto, doesn't get too many primetime games, but I think this one is definitely one people should be looking out for, especially when the late game is the best game, right, with the Dallas and Phoenix. So should have time. If people are watching NBA tonight, that should definitely be a game you want to watch with them facing off against Boston. And a guy that we love to back, I do have a play on him already as well. We'll kick it over to you. A guy that, I mean, just absolute wagon territory.
Yeah, man, this one feels like real simple right here. SGA, I made a little same game parlay over on DraftKings. SGA, 25 points, 1 first quarter assist, and then DeJounte Murray on the other side to grab a steal right here. I'll lay it all out. SGA has 25 points in every game except 4 this season. He's averaging over 30 points per game, 3rd in the NBA. And like I said, every single game except 4 all season. He is consistently having insane volume, 20 field goal attempts per game. It's his team. There's no competition. I mean, who else is shooting the ball more than 10 times on this team? Lou Dort occasionally gets there. Giddey occasionally gets there. The centers are giving you nothing on this team. James Robinson Earl and Alexander Pokuševski. What are these guys giving you on a day-to-day basis? You have the 2 Williams, not just one. You've got 2 of them. Once in a while, these guys show up, but it's really SGA's team, right? He's consistently seeing heavy minutes. 25 points just feels like such an automatic leg right here. And then when you look at the first quarter assist, because he's scoring so much, because he has the ball in his hands so much, he has a first quarter assist in every single game except 1 this season. He's playing almost the full first quarter. He's getting you at least 11 minutes almost every single time, which besides Luka Doncic, really nobody else is giving you that. And he's just been so consistent. 1 assist in every single game except 1. I actually think this is a good matchup for 2 as well. I might be looking at adding a little bit more on that later. It's just as a solo, just because Clint Capella will be there in the paint. He will try to force out these, these driving kicks to those shooters on the outside. The problem is the shooters, not that reliable, but I think 1 assist should be pretty easy right here. Capella has been good at defending the paint, and we know that's where SGA works. Finally, DeJounte Murray to grab a steal, averaging 1.9 in the season. We know this back from the Spurs days last year. DeJounte Murray's out there. His line, and it still is 1.5 this year, is 1.5 last year. He's the only guy I've ever seen at that 2.5 steals mark as well. He's so active. Those hands are so important. He's going to be tasked with guarding SGA a lot, and we know SGA isn't necessarily the most natural passer in the world. He definitely is a little bit kind of he turns the ball over a little bit more than regular. It's not CP3 we're talking about right here. It's not Tyrese Halliburton. He's a score first, pass second kind of guy that does create these turnovers. And I just in general, I know you know this. I love playing these turnover props, these steal props against turnover heavy young teams. The Rockets, the Thunder. These are the kind of teams they're working through their growing pains. They're trying stuff out in real time. That's way more conducive to turnovers than some of these real competitive teams that are, grinding it every day. Like you're not playing too many turnover props against the Raptors because if you commit a turnover, you get beat in practice. I don't think you get beat in practice at Thunder. I think, they tell you to just keep on passing. So I think the same game parlay at plus 100, it's just pretty simple. A lot of stuff that has hit super consistently this year. SGA 25 points, 1 first quarter assist, and you throw in a DeJounte Murray steal plus 100 on DK.
Yeah, no, I did look at this once you told me. I checked out his actual line, see if I could get 1.5 as an easy spot. And I'm like, dude, when do I see it? 2.5 steals, dude? This guy is nuts. I remember some games last year when he was with the Spurs, he would break DFS slates on just steals alone. Yeah. When he would get 6, that's like 20 extra points right there just on steals, dude. So I definitely have seen the upside of DeJounte Murray. He's just so quick. He's so long. He's going to be tough to handle. And probably the only guy who can really match up as a guard with SGA in terms of like size. Obviously, SGA is still popping from 30 feet, so still a tough matchup anyway. But still, a guy that honestly, I don't know if they're going to even use him on him for the whole time just because of foul trouble, and he's probably their best player, like in terms of like defense. So I definitely could see him rotating off for sure. But yeah, I've seen way too many slates where DeJounte Murray grabs like 5 swipes and just destroys the slate. And I am actually heading to a parlay. I had to do it. For some reason in my head, I thought Plus Money Bob is coming back today. So I did think about it and I threw it in here. I'm going Giannis 25 points with PJ Washington 15 points. And yeah, let's kind of talk about Giannis a little bit here first. Giannis has hit this in 20 of 22 games this season. And I know it's an 8.5 point spread, blah, blah, blah. Giannis is playing only 31 minutes a game. Like, that's what everybody thinks. Like, they're going to blow these teams out. They are. They are consistently blowing teams out, and he is consistently getting there. Everybody's going to talk about Middleton and all that stuff. Giannis is the dude. I don't care what anybody says. If all three of them are on the court, if a shot's going up, it's primarily going to be Giannis. His offensive rebounding skills are top notch. Who is guarding him in the paint? Who? Mo Bamba's questionable. No Wendell Carter. You're going to tell me Bull's going to mess around with Giannis driving right into his chest? Yeah, maybe he could guard like 5 years ago Giannis when he was this big. Giannis is a man now. This man is driving straight through people. Bull has dealt with foul trouble. I can't imagine they're going to try and put him on Giannis. That man will last about 3 minutes before he's sitting on the bench. And then what? We're going to see Mo Wagner? I've seen that man get bitched up at Michigan. I've seen him get moved around at Michigan. Now you're going to have Giannis go at him? Like, there's no way Orlando ranks in the bottom 10 in points per game allowed in the paint. And you know who's number one at points per game in the paint, and that is Giannis. This man is going right at your chest. It's going to be very tough. Obviously, I think he might shoot 10 free throws. I know you always mention the prize picks option for free throws. This might be, if they can let you do free throw attempts, I would definitely use that one over makes. But I love Giannis tonight. 25 seems like it's pretty easy. In this spot, I think it's like minus 380. PJ Washington doing much of the heavy lifting of this odds. He's minus 150 to score 15 points, and he's been absolutely fantastic outside of the game against the Bucs. He had 0 points last game, but he still shot 13 times, right? I mean, that's literally how bad he was. But he affected the game, still found a way, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, still involved, right? He's playing so many minutes, right? You're missing Hayward. You're missing Dennis Smith Jr. You're missing LaMelo Ball, right? That is a ton of usage to go around. And outside of last game, he hit it in 4 straight games and 6 of his last 7 prior to that last one. PJ Washington is a mainstay in this lineup in competitive matchups, which against the Clippers, it's only a 1.5 point spread. We obviously have a lot of news to talk about. Clippers are top 10 in points per game allowed in the paint. I expect them to be shooting some threes. It's going to be coming to PJ Washington. It's going to be going to Kelly Oubre. They're going to have to work from the outside. PJ Washington still shooting a lot of threes. I was so torn on if I want to take 2 threes or 15 points. But I think PJ Washington has the ability to obviously score 15 points other places as well. Sign me up. I think if we see a competitive matchup, he sees 34-plus minutes here. I think PJ Washington comes through for us.
I completely agree. I mean, you don't need me to back you up on the Giannis point. I think we all agree that Giannis and Bull ladder the blocks. Giannis 3 blocks, Bull 3 blocks in a generational matchup between 2 legends of the game. I'm excited. I agree with you, though. I don't think there's going to be any problem there. And then on the other side, PJ, the thing about PJ, right? The 0 for 13, I feel like describes him so well. Like, he's going to be 0 for 5, and there's no thought like, maybe I shouldn't shoot right here. Like, he's not that guy, right? We remember from his college days, this is a guy that is more than willing to take those shots. And to be honest, like you said, this isn't I don't like him. I don't know if you could tell that much. I don't really love him as a player, but he's kind of been very good. He's been making improvements, not only on the offensive side of the ball, he's making himself useful, like you said, on defense too. He's actually playing very good defense so far this year. So he's one of those guys, the minutes will be there, the opportunity will be there. It's just whether or not he's able to sink those outside shots is really the differentiator. Because like you said, they're going to cut off the paint. He's not going to be one of those guys that's consistently driving. So he's going to have to make those outside shots. He's going to have to make those mid-range shots. But if he's going to take 15 or so shots, then at plus 110, I think it's great value.
Yeah, and I know we talked a little bit pre-show, but the 4 is going to be the best matchup. Marcus Morris is probably going to be the guy guarding him, right? Do I want to face Paul George? Do I want to face Kawhi Leonard? Or do I want to face Marcus Morris? And Marcus Morris is out there to shoot, man. Or fight somebody. That's really what he's good for, is playing offense and fighting people out there. I know him and Jokic got into it a few times there, but it's just the easiest matchup here is that spot. I mean, if Paul George does play, Norman Powell's still there who plays some pretty good defense as well. There's a lot of guys around here that actually are in a tougher spot defensively. I think you just go to the easier one here, and obviously Oubre's going to have a tough one. You're going to have Rozier, who might shoot 40 times tonight. Jesus, this man just shoots every time he touches it. But, hey, PJ definitely going to get there for us hopefully tonight. And, yeah, let's take a look at the chat here. Let's take a look. Did you see any other plays pop in there while we were going through?
I saw we had a hockey one a little bit up. Someone sharing some hockey knowledge, which, hey, I'm more than happy to tell, okay? Because I know absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Garth, I'm sorry I didn't post it right away, but we were running a little long on NFL, so wanted to make sure we got everything out for the people in here. Garth dropping some knowledge in hockey. I absolutely have zero idea about anything in hockey. That is, until they bring an NHL team here to Wisconsin, I'm sure we would absolutely love it. But Bruins have allowed 14 in their last 10. Hey, can't go away from that when you're seeing numbers like that. Team total under 2.5 for Vegas. We got Tim back in here. I remember Tim. I know he was in here a lot during our baseball season games and stuff like that. We got 40 of you guys in here. Thank you so much again for the support. It means a lot. And let's take a look. I do not think we have anything else. Wednesday, again, will be NBA there too. Be ready. We'll throw a long shot in there since there's a lot bigger slate. We're sure we'll be able to find something a little bit better there in terms of long shots for you. So make sure you guys are coming in here Wednesday. Paul, we did see Stu drop a play already on SGA, which we are about to recap. We're about to recap all of these, so stay tuned. We're about to get to all of our plays here for today. Kick it over to you, Stu. Let's start out with your play here in the NFL game.
Yep, we're going Alvin Kamara over 3.5 receptions, minus 127 in the NFL today. Then we're moving over to the NBA. I like SGA 30.52. I really don't have a problem with it. Just with Capella and even Okongwu when he comes off, being a pretty good rim protector, right? I kind of did like bringing it down a little bit to the 25. We add in the first quarter assist, which has been automatic this season. Then we go over to Shante Murray steal against a young Thunder team. Plus 100, same game parlay over on DraftKings.
Perfect. And I'll have 2 NBA for you guys tonight. We're going Pascal Siakam over 13.5 rebounds, assists against the Boston Celtics tonight in a parlay. This is over on FanDuel. I believe it's at, I think it just checked, it's plus 107 right now. But PJ Washington to score 15 points and Giannis to score 25. That is at plus 110. Some good plus money odds for you guys there. Do not think we have any other questions in the chat. What do you got for the people, Stu? We're about to head out. Closing in on a 50-minute mark. We've had 35, 40 people in here most of the time. What do you got for them?
Yeah, no, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to have another NFL play coming out with the 33rd team. As soon as we hop off here, I'll be posting that. It's another interesting one. I'm not sure if people will love it as much once again, but hey, you can go decide for yourself. And I know both of us, you already have some NBA stuff out. I will have some more NBA stuff out as well. So plenty of action to follow us through. I don't know. I haven't proposed this yet. I'm thinking no Washington game this weekend. Maybe we just cancel the rest of the shows and we just come back when Washington plays because we got a big game to prepare for. We're rematching against the Giants. It was a tie. Okay. You never root for a tie. It could have been worse than a tie. So we're going to regroup. We're all going to quit our day jobs, take some time off, and we're coming back to you guys in 2 weeks for a Washington win over the Giants. Lock it in right now. Let's go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, repping the pack today. Decided to come through here. I was very surprised to see them play Rodgers in this one, but hey, they found a way to get the win there. That was awesome. Christian Watson just showing out like crazy. Absolutely balling right now. I'm curious how it's going to work when Dobbs comes back there. But looking like we'll get to that last question here right before. If you guys want another play, I did drop one already. I dropped an article already this morning for NBA. I did that one super early. Don't know why I did it early this morning. Right when I woke up, I'm like, hey, let's do one quick. So have that one out there. Obviously, a guy we backed a lot in Shea. So that'll be a part of my article there. I'll be posting that in a recap video with this as well. So you'll have both of them in the same spot. Stu, one last question here from Lash. We have over 2.5 threes on Barstool. Thinking about it for Luka. Any thoughts here? I have a play on Luka. I'll tell you in a second. But what do you got here on the three-point made?
The volume's been there, but the hit rate hasn't been as good as you'd think so far this season. This looks like such an easy number for Luka. But, for me, I think with that matchup, with the way the Suns deny the 3 ball, I think if Luka does a lot of scoring, a lot of it's going to come at the free throw line today. A lot of it's going to come from attacking the paint. So while it looks like an appealing number, I'm probably just going to pass on that one. I've gotten bit by over 2.5 once or twice by him so far this year.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to be betting on the rebounds assist line in this one. I think that they're going to have to 9-14. I don't know what that means, but
3-point attempts is what I
attempts. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense because I was really confused. I'm like, he did not make 14 threes, or I would have definitely saw that on Twitter. But I'm on his rebound assists. I think they're going to double. Honestly, I think they kind of have to at this point. And I really like the addition when Tim Hardaway's in that starting lineup, man. Dude has been a sniper. So I expect some passing. I expect him to continue to grab every single free throw miss off of those rebounds. This man is the Russell Westbrook of those rebounds off the free throw line. They just box him out and let Luka get in there. So I'll be backing that 16 and a half, 17 and a half at most places there. So definitely a good look. The Suns are tough against the 3-point shot. A lot better than I expected when I was looking into it, because Luka was obviously the first guy you go to on a slate when you're looking at plays. Him, Shea, and obviously Giannis all on tonight's slate. So again, I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well take 5, 4, 5, 3, might as well ladder it up, because when he gets hot, he just keeps throwing them up there, man. So definitely could see him going really high or just going over. So
agreed.
That'd be my way to do it, just to get rid of that juice there a little bit, though. So that is it, guys. 50 minutes, a lot longer than our normal Monday show. Hopefully you guys are able to find all those plays. Again, if you have questions, guys, and you're not in here live, drop them in the chat. Smash that like button on the way out. We'll be back here on Wednesday, I believe, around the same time, around that 1:30 time, coming at you guys for some plays. Again, for that huge Wednesday NBA slate. I'm excited for this one. Again, any questions, drop them there. If not, best of luck, guys. Let's crush this Monday and start this week out with some winners.